So we're going to be talking about the water pollution in India, and this is Daisy, this is Isha, this is Ellen behind me, and this is Kenneth, and I'm Monea. So I'll just show you a video on the Ganges River.
Today, India is facing major water pollution problems due to untreated sewage leaking into major and minor water bodies. 80% of the water that is used for domestic purposes are full of waste. The Ganga and Yamuna, two of the most holiest rivers in India, are highly polluted. Since I live in India, I've seen a lot of trash wherever I go, and it's hard because the environment it gets really badly affected. And recently, me and my mom went on this small survey to a small village to explore the sanitation and to see whether the government was helping with the sanitation and water problems. To my surprise, there was a single bathroom in the entire village, and the people that lived in the bathroom had to walk a kilometer away to find a small place that was isolated from everyone else to go to the bathroom. And that kind of hurt me, and I kind of felt that I needed to do something about it. This is a bit of stats of the effect and the problems and what it causes.
All right, so with all of this in mind, we decided to try to research and come up with an efficient filtration system that would address all the types of pollution in the river. And due to the low funding that we have, it will have to be simple and expensive and not require a lot of maintenance. And additionally, we tried to find ways to incorporate recycled waste from the river into the design to avoid adding too much new material to the situation and not keep the trash from going into the river over and over again because of the poor dumping site and garbage disposal situation. And this is sort of the theme of our project, that we don't want to add more material to the situation when we're trying to take out waste. Instead, we want to be really efficient, and we want to take the problem and turn it into the solution.
Okay, so our concept is to construct a three-phase system, and the first phase would mainly focus on the larger pieces of garbage that pollute the river bodies. And so it would be a series of plastic sheets that have increasingly smaller holes that would filter out the trash from the water. And then the second phase would focus on the chemicals and pesticides that pollute the river bodies, and we would use enzymes. And the third phase would be nanobubble generators that are dispersed evenly throughout the river bed, and these would be aiming at decreasing the bacteria levels that are caused from human waste in the polluted rivers.
The major influence on our ideas from SciArt was Dr. Jimjowski's lectures on plastic and nanobubbles. In order to find what our filters would remove, we researched river pollutants and discovered that they take three major forms: bacteria, large pollutants, and toxins. Everything in those categories is dangerous on their own, but combined, they are extremely harmful to humans, animals, and the larger ecosystem around them.
All right, so this is a diagram of the full aforementioned three-phase system, the river flowing through top to bottom. All right, so on the left, we have a close-up of the first part, which is filtering out the large waste, and we choose to filter out the large waste first because the sheer volume of trash and plastic that is floating through the river is impeding any effort to filter out toxins because it blocks the finer filters. And then the way it works is we have the sheet of plastic, which is we're going to make out of recycled plastic from the river, so we don't have to add anything in. And it also has sort of a windshield wiper device so that it avoids clogging itself by periodically sweeping up the trash onto the shore to be sorted out. And then on the left, or on the right, we have the last phase of the system, the nanobubble generators. And as we explained before, the nanobubbles are the really small bubbles that don't float to the top. And since they're so high pressure and high heat, any bacteria that comes into contact with them is immediately killed. And it's a lot more efficient, and it's pretty available to buy and low energy. And it doesn't harm anything else. It doesn't harm large organisms, and it's a lot easier than heating the water or any other sterilization methods. And we hope that this can be used in along with other methods such as the replacements for plastic and also finding better dumping sites. And this can clean up the river and speed up the process.
This is like a little video that we made to spread awareness on trash.
There is no song.
Sorry.
Is there sound there?
No.
There is no sunny sand. It's just trash piling up.
We just couldn't go to India, so that was our river.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's the timeline of water pollution. So.
So for our installation, it's near the Mars installation, if you want to go see it outside, but these are just some pics from it. And so the food court, right behind us, we just took the recycling and the landfill trash, and we just sifted through it, and we used it for our art pieces. And so in the recycling bins, it was pretty interesting because there was so much liquid at the bottom, it was so concentrated in liquid, and it just kind of related to our topic because you don't really think about throwing away water, but it happens so much. So yeah, it's outside. So the impact in future, we want to start a movement to aid India because since it's a developing country, it also has other issues, but obviously we don't have a large handle on, birth and death rates. We don't have a large handle on the other issues there, but we can help on littering, cleanliness, and diseases, energy, sanitation, and air pollution. And we also, with this device, we want to create multiple jobs for men and women. Often in developing countries, there's kind of a shift in power there, and men and women aren't really equal, so that would create a new market and lessen the economic vulnerability there. We also want to have sub-projects within this project and use water for other purposes. Because there's such a sewage problem there, where 80% of the water that is used for domestic purposes passed down in the form of wastewater. And although major cities in India, there's money allocated for them, it's often lost. And they do have facilities to treat the sewage, but it's really not enough because of the high birth rate and the rising population. It's kind of hard to contain the population. And so that's kind of the reason why it's hard to implement these changes. And so, according to the data from the Ministry of Urban Development, census from 2011, it's estimated that 75 to 80% of water pollution by volume is from domestic sewage. So, yeah. Also, we want to move to other waterways after India is complete and eventually move to other developing countries. We know there's problems in Indonesia, Bangladesh, and others. And yeah. So, for our conclusion and discussion, I'm not going to read it all, but we were just kind of inspired by Yusha's story because, again, we felt kind of privileged during this project. And going through the recycling bins through the campus, you just see that people just throw away water and just throw away food, and we were all guilty of that, so that was kind of interesting. And yeah. Oh, also, we kind of want to create sub-projects within this, and we focused on the Ganges River, but it's not the only thing that we're contained to because the Ganges River isn't concentrated. It goes into other state governments and central governments. So we kind of hope to improve the connections there because often money allocated to environmental causes in India, they kind of don't really get used for anything. It's kind of similar to the schooling problem in Detroit, so if you know about that. So discussion questions. I'll read the interesting ones. So even though this is an environmental problem, how is this a problem about morals and religion? And who is responsible for fixing India's rivers? Are we responsible for it? Or are the inhabitants living near the river responsible for it? Or the states? We don't really know. And what are the economic implications for this project? And are there any other fiscal issues evident in the system that we're kind of ignoring? And why is this even relevant to Americans? And what are the ways we can help? And how will cleaning India's rivers aid the rest of the country? Will it even, and will it have an effect on these? These are dry references, but.